G'day guys. So I've been renting a Ford Everest for the week and driving around in North Queensland. I figured I'd go through a few things I like and dislike about it. Um, what it's really like in real life. So it's basically a brand new car, this thing. It's got 2,000 Ks on it. I've put 500 and something on it myself, so it's pretty much a brand new car when I got a hold of it. Appearance wise, it's pretty freaking blacked out. This model's the sport version, I believe. Um, okay wheels on it, a decent brand at least. Approach and departure angles are quite good. I haven't had any issues there, surprisingly. Taken it on pretty much every condition you're going to experience, without going too crazy. Beach wise, surprisingly good for suspension travel and ground clearance and all that sort of stuff. On the soft stuff. Doesn't bounce around too crazy. Does feel heavy on the real soft part. The biggest problem that I find is the turbo lag is really frustrating when you're on the little windy tracks, real soft corners and stuff you're trying to get out of. It really gets a bit frustrating. You could probably hold the put the gearbox in a certain gear and try and rev it a bit to keep that RPM up. Frustrating just to be driving it. So let's go through. Oh, one other thing, suspension-wise, off-road on corrugated roads, man, it actually goes really well. I'm really surprised. This is much better than Prado for suspension setup. Without coat with corrugations, core spring front and rear. Works really well. Interior-wise, this has got all leather and all crap in it. I'll shut this door. So don't try and wash your windscreen with the window down because it just fucking pours in your window. The gauges are a bit shit. There is no temperature gauge. You have to scroll through. What's this issue here? Won't let me scroll because I haven't got my seatbelt on. Only Ford would have that problem. So you got to scroll through. There we go. Until you can actually see an engine temperature. I guess they just don't really care anymore on modern cars. Center console's alright. It's pretty, navigation, all that sort of junk.
And then we trained people to do the household survey.
But actually driving the car, this lane departure warning is a complete fucking joke. Don't even bother. Trying to understand it. It's a complete joke. It does nothing. It's meant to be lane keep, I believe, but I felt nothing. It tries to put you in a ditch, that thing. Radar cruise control is good at high speeds, but at low speed it doesn't actually stop the car when you come up to a car. So it basically gets you under like 40 k's an hour, and then you can just run clean into the back of a car. So not like all the other modern ones out there. Steering wise, it's not too bad. Around suburban streets and off-road and stuff like that, it's quite good. But on the highway, it's fucking heavy on the highway. So if you're driving down a cambered road, and it's trying to pull you down, you really got to fight this thing to keep it going straight. They must, I haven't looked into the technology behind it, but I'm assuming it's electronic or something, and they basically turn it off at high speeds. So yeah, it's a fucking frustrating. You're really hard fighting it, keeping it straight. It gets a bit frustrating if you're doing a big long drive, fighting that the whole time. But yeah, apart from that, I wouldn't buy one because it's too underpowered for my liking. Fuel economy is good driving around, but I took it on the beach for about an hour, and I burned like a quarter of a tank in that time. This is a big tank of fuel in this thing. So I'd hate to tow with it. I reckon you would chew fuel, something fierce, or if you were going on a big full driving trip, you know, Fraser Island or something like that, you're still going to have to take extra fuel because it's going to go through it for a little 2-litre engine. You're not going to expect it. But yeah, it's the tacho's so sluggish, it's pretty much useless. That type of tacho. It's got this stupid slide bar tacho as well here, but again useless. But yeah, that it's got like an angled thing here, so they pitch the steering. Why you'd ever need it for is a bit beyond me, but that temperature, you'd think they'd give you a better gauge than that. Kind of disappointed by that. Gearbox, it's pretty sluggish, but that could be just turbo lag, to be honest. It's causing that. Whenever you start the car, just turn this auto start stop crap off. It's just shit house without it. You know, it's like the people behind you at the satellite speed beeping you while this thing starts up. The rear diff lock, surprisingly, you can actually turn that on at any time. Two-wheel drive, it seems to disengage over about 60 k's an hour, but then it actually auto re-engages itself. So if I put it in drive, I can turn that on. It's locked on right now. Two-wheel drive, well, this is not really two-wheel drive, but the normal road mode. And it got a diff lock, and it seems to bring it on and off. Once you go over 60 k's an hour, it turns off, and once you come back under it, it brings it back on. So I don't mind that. It's pretty good. Traction control, to be honest, this thing hasn't got the power to really need traction control. I don't know why what situation you're going to get in when you need that. The low range is, I haven't really needed it, to be honest. But it's there. You know, the gearbox is geared pretty low anyway, so you know, if you're doing some shenanigans, you might need it. But as for the modes, you know, it's got snow, mud, grass, all this sort of crap. The only one I really use was the sand mode. Surprisingly good for turning off the traction control on the sand. So that appears to be all it does, is it basically turns the traction control off and maybe increases the you know, drive to the front a little bit, but it still feels quite rear prominent on the soft sand. Yeah, you know, electronic soft push button start, all that sort of crap on these modern cars. But I really don't like the central locking system. You know, the smart key system. It never really locks the car, to be honest. You can't do a hard lock like you can do on Toyotas, where even if you got the key in your hand, you can't still get the car open without pushing the unlock button. This thing, you put it into the hard lock mode, and you can still, with the key in proximity, unlock the car. So, a bit of a safety, security issue in my book. But you know, you're in a dodgy area, you want that car locked immediately, in my opinion. But hey, each their own, I guess. So yeah, if you want a car that's not very powerful but good on corrugated roads, pretty good off-road, you know, $60,000 price tag this has got at the moment. Fairly decent interior, you know, it's all, you know, fake leather everywhere. It's got a third row of seats. Third row of seats do not lay flat, but when you fold them down, so just a little bit frustrating there, where everything in the boot is actually pitched down, as if it's trying to fall out the boot. So if you've got some round stuff in there, it's just going to pour out the boot as soon as it opens. But yeah, each their own, I guess. It's not bad. As I said, better than a Prado off-road. Doesn't have the power of a Prado. Actually, yeah, Prados are pretty gutless modern ones these days too. So, yeah. Anyway, figured I'd give you a bit of information if anyone's interested in what it's really like driving these things, apart from in the dealer. You know, you might be a guy that's looking to buy one of these and you want an honest opinion, things to look for yourself. You know, take one for a drive and put it on the highway and put it on a cambered road and fight this steering wheel. You know, turn this cruise control off and turn the radar cruise control on, and don't crash into the car in front. You know, don't expect it to slow the car all the way down. You know, take it on, you know, start stop where you're on that turbo lag. You know, when you're at a roundabout and you just want to go in front of someone, you know, you might be a bit tight when you're not really giving proper way to someone. You know, you just want to go and get out of the way. You're not going to expect that in this car. It's not going to do it. So, but good things, man. It is smooth on the corrugated roads, pothole roads, and whatnot. It does handle quite well. You know, steering's really light around slow speeds. You know, very quick turning and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, automatic. If you're just plotting along, you're not in big throttle, but the automatic handles pretty well. But if you're really wanting, you know, to increase and decrease your speed, you know, dramatically, the auto is going to take a bit to catch up. It's probably a combination of turbo lag and the auto. You know, 8-speed, whatever it is. I think it's 8-speed. Gearbox. No, it's 10-speed. So yeah, it's got a lot of choice of gears to pick, and it takes a minute to think about it. But yeah, anyway, good luck.